Imagine a court scribe in ancient Jerusalem carefully marking a clay tablet under the hot sun. That quiet act nearly 3,000 years ago forever changed how humanity understands true wisdom. Welcome to a deep exploration of the foundational framework of Proverbs. Chapter 1. Many people approach the book of Proverbs as just a handy collection of moral slogans. They expect quick advice on achieving success, building wealth, or avoiding common social pitfalls. Yet, the opening lines of Chapter 1 offer something far more radical than simple advice. Scholars refer to the first 7 verses as a guiding introduction or foundational manifesto. This opening does not merely introduce the text, it redefines how we understand knowledge itself. It begins by crediting King Solomon, son of David and ruler of ancient Israel. However, notice that these writings are called proverbs rather than binding legal decrees. In Hebrew, the word translated as proverb is mishal, which comes from a root word meaning comparison. A mishal is not a rigid top-down command carved in stone like Hammurabi's code. It functions like a mirror, designed to reflect human nature and provoke deep self-examination. Kings of the ancient Near East usually published texts to assert absolute political power. Solomon, however, gathered observations about reality to invite readers onto a journey of personal change. The text clearly states its goal is to impart prudence, discretion, and moral insight. It offers guidance specially tailored for young, naive, and inexperienced readers. Yet, it immediately adds that even mature and wise people should listen and keep growing. This opening statement proves that true wisdom has no expiration date and no final limit. Then comes verse 7, which serves as the main turning point of the entire book. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom. To grasp this ancient statement, we must carefully examine the original Hebrew words. The word translated as fear here is yirah, which goes far beyond simple panic. Yirah signifies profound awe, quiet reverence, and a humble attitude before God. It is completely different from pahad, which describes the natural terror felt in danger. Furthermore, the text intentionally states that reverence is the beginning of da'at, or knowledge. Da'at represents basic perception, simple awareness, and the core ability to spot the truth. Wisdom, known in Hebrew as chokmah, is the complex structure built on top of that raw data. Without a foundational attitude of reverence, all human understanding becomes naturally skewed and distorted. The Hebrew word for beginning in this passage is rashit, meaning primary foundation or bedrock. Reverence is not just a first step you leave behind once your intellectual journey starts. It remains the permanent ground on which every lasting insight must firmly stand. Ancient Hebrew thought clearly separates technical skill from genuine moral wisdom. Chokmah can refer to practical expertise, artistic skill, or clever practical ability. In ancient history, even master craftsmen and deceptive court advisors possessed high technical chokmah. Skill alone is morally neutral and can easily be used for selfish or destructive goals. What raises a practical skill into a true virtue is grounding it in divine reverence. Verses 1 through 6 establish the book's purpose from a teacher's perspective. Verse 7 suddenly shifts the tone from practical instruction to a serious theological choice. It presents the reader with a fundamental decision that shapes every future life choice. Human authority steps aside, putting a divine relationship right at the center of true intelligence. The text then introduces a key character seen throughout wisdom literature, the fool. In Hebrew, this specific type of fool is called the evil, representing moral stubbornness. An evil is not someone lacking raw brain power or educational opportunities. The fool is someone who sees the truth clearly, yet consciously chooses to ignore it. Their core mistake is not an intellectual oversight, but a deliberate moral rebellion. They look at sound instruction and treat it as completely worthless or irrelevant. This mindset matches ancient stories where humans sought independence apart from reverence. In Genesis, the tree of knowledge offered intellectual capacity stripped of humble obedience. Throughout the Psalms, authors continuously pray for open hearts that are willing to be taught. They recognize that raw human intelligence without spiritual humility leads straight to ruin. In the book of Job, human reason hits painful limits that intellect alone cannot solve. Job feared God, yet his vast intellectual capacity could not fully explain his suffering. His story shows that true wisdom eventually goes beyond simple human analysis. Similarly, Moses offered Israel a clear choice between life and blessing or death and destruction. That same fundamental choice echoes directly within the opening lines of Proverbs chapter 1. In the New Testament, Jesus often taught in parables to challenge self-righteous minds. He noted that deep spiritual truths are often hidden from the arrogant, yet revealed to children. True wisdom requires an attitude of openness rather than an insistence on self-sufficiency. The Hebrew concept of musar, often translated as discipline, means moral growth through correction. It requires a willingness to listen when corrected and to grow through personal failures. An open-minded person welcomes musar, while a foolish person reacts with proud contempt. Proverbs portrays the results of folly not as random lightning bolts from the sky. Instead, destructive outcomes are woven directly into the fabric of moral reality. If a person acts with arrogance, dishonesty, or laziness, predictable ruin naturally follows. The universe is built with internal moral laws that are just as real as physical laws. Aligning your daily choices with those principles leads to life, peace, and success. Ignoring these basic realities causes immediate friction and ultimate long-term disaster. Chapters 2 through 9 build on this introduction through extended speeches from a father. The father warns his son against dangerous traps, dishonest friends, and foolish shortcuts. He urges the young reader to search for wisdom, as if looking for hidden treasure. Chapters 10 through 29 present short, one-line observations about daily human life. These proverbs cover money management, speech habits, work ethic, and personal relationships. Yet, every single practical tip relies on the core foundation set in chapter 1. Without the central pillar of verse 7, individual proverbs become just superficial advice. When you see this complete architecture, the entire book of Proverbs suddenly opens up. It stops being a random list of rules and becomes a clear guide for life. Modern culture constantly encourages us to rely only on our personal feelings. We are bombarded with slogans telling us to trust our intuition above all else. Proverbs, chapter 1, counters this modern trend with a quiet call for intellectual humility. It reminds us that human perception is limited, biased, and easily misled. True intelligence begins when we yield our personal understanding to an ultimate source. Intelligence in the biblical sense is not measured by high IQ scores alone. It is measured by character, justice, righteousness, and a constant eagerness to learn. Verse 3 emphasizes that true wisdom must always produce justice, equity, and fairness. A clever plan that oppresses others or promotes injustice is not true wisdom. It is merely selfish cunning, which ultimately leads to moral and personal failure. Genuine chokmah always aligns with what is right, noble, and good for others. This ancient text remains remarkably relevant in our fast-paced tech age today. We live in an era overwhelmed by endless data, rapid news, and instant communication. Yet, despite easy access to information, genuine wisdom remains surprisingly rare. We often confuse technical knowledge with the moral capacity to live well and justly. Proverbs chapter 1 invites us to pause and evaluate the foundation of our thoughts. It asks whether our daily choices are built on fragile pride or lasting reverence. The ancient Jerusalem scribe who wrote these words understood human nature deeply. He recognized that every human heart faces the exact same choice in every generation. We can either walk in self-confident folly or cultivate a spirit of reverent awe. The choice we make determines how we interpret every experience, trial, and opportunity. To understand Proverbs, chapter 1 is to understand the core narrative of Scripture. It continuously calls humanity back from self-centered pride toward humble submission. It challenges us to look into the mirror of truth and evaluate our actions honestly. As you reflect on these 7 foundational verses, consider your own daily perspective. Are there areas where you rely entirely on your own limited intellectual capacity? Are you truly open to receiving corrective instruction and growing in moral character? Wisdom is not a fixed destination you reach once and keep effortlessly forever. It is an ongoing, lifelong attitude of humble listening and active alignment with truth. Let the ancient words of the scribe reframe how you navigate your modern world today. Seek the foundational reverence that transforms simple knowledge into lasting, life-giving wisdom. Understanding this ancient framework brings clarity when facing modern ethical dilemmas. When choices multiply, a firm foundation keeps you from drifting into confusion and compromise. The scribe left behind not a rigid dogma, but a dynamic compass for human life. Every paragraph in Proverbs echoes this initial invitation to seek deeper understanding. True knowledge requires stepping beyond raw information into moral discernment. It asks us to respect reality as a structured whole, created with clear purpose. When we honor that structure, our choices resonate with lasting harmony and stability. This is why ancient kings, scholars, and ordinary seekers cherish these proverbs. They found a blueprint for building a life that survives the storms of existence. Folly promises quick shortcuts, but always ends in breakdown and regret. Wisdom asks for patience, humility, and dedication, but yields eternal rewards. As you move through your week, observe where genuine wisdom is needed most. Notice how technical solutions often fail when character and integrity are missing. Reflect on the difference between knowing facts and knowing how to live rightly. Allow the mirror of Proverbs to reveal areas ready for growth and renewal. Reverence opens the door to insights that self-reliance can never uncover. Walk with humility, listen attentively, and let true wisdom guide your steps. Every decision you make reflects the foundation on which your mind is built. Building on pride leads to instability when unexpected trials shake your world. Building on reverence brings enduring strength that withstands every hardship. Take time today to re-examine the core values directing your current ambitions. Align your goals with righteousness, fairness, and genuine care for others. True success is measured not by wealth, but by moral integrity and spiritual depth. The Proverbs of old still speak directly to every open and willing heart. Choose the path of instruction and discover the peace that comes with true wisdom. May your journey be illuminated by truth, understanding, and eternal purpose. Let reverence be the compass that guides your heart through every dark valley. Trust in the enduring truth that outlasts human philosophies and changing cultures. Embrace the discipline that forms noble character and lasting spiritual vision. In doing so, you honor the ancient legacy left by faithful scribes. Your life will reflect the beauty and power of wisdom applied rightly today. Open your mind to the silent lessons echoing through ancient historical texts. Re-evaluating fundamental beliefs is the first step toward true personal change. Patience and perseverance are required to cultivate deep intellectual and moral discernment. Avoid the seductive trap of pride that convinces you there is nothing left to learn. Surround yourself with mentors who value truth, honesty, and compassionate living. Let your daily actions serve as a testament to the wisdom you seek to embody. True strength is found in quiet conviction rather than loud, arrogant assertions. May these ancient reflections bring clarity to your modern, complex life decisions. The pursuit of wisdom is a continuous journey that enriches every single day. Stand firm on the eternal bedrock of reverence, justice, and unyielding integrity. Welcome to the lifelong path of understanding, character, and true divine wisdom.